go ahead, go ahead. Hi, this is Andy Patnou here at the TPC Scottsdale Tour Academy, helping out my good friend here, Jim Waldron, with his bunker play. Jim, what have you been struggling with your bunkers so far today?
Today, I've hit a couple heavy shots. Had a little bit of problems with distance control, but not too bad. But just my big misses are heavy shots and the occasional thin ones. So controlling distance and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so like the first step to kind of doing that is making sure we're set up good with it and making sure we have a decent amount of width in our swing. So too many times I see amateurs kind of set up to it improper and then also try and do too many things with the golf club, creating too narrow of an arc and just a bunch of different things. So Jim, why don't you set up to a golf ball real quick and show us what you're doing when you first came in here in terms of your chest buttons and kind of, let's say, overall what you're doing in terms of setup.
Okay, so my chest was actually getting either in line with the ball or almost too far back. So that would cause me, to bottom out too far behind the ball. So I'm feeling like my chest buttons are pointing more in front of the ball while keeping a wide stance and flaring out my right foot a little bit more to keep the lower body a little more quiet and focusing on my, trunk and upper body rotation and not getting too narrow in here and trying to use the hands too much to get this ball out of the bunker.
Yeah, so in a simple sense, Jim's pretty much standing normal. So if you're standing up like this and the ball's in the middle that way, that usually in a simple sense, wherever this is kind of pointing at, that's usually kind of an ideal kind of where that ball's going to or the club's going to bottom out. So all I had Jim do is not sitting here leaning forward this way to do that. We don't want the shoulders being steep. All he's doing is pushing that chest button a little bit more forward. And all it's going to do is going to orientate that kind of low point just a touch more in front. So now you can play the ball just a touch more forward, which is going to help with loft. And it's also going to kind of help him shallow out his approach as it being too steep. All right, he's also kind of focusing on that right foot. What you don't want to do, you don't want to sit there and have that right foot too square. You want to have it kind of banked out a little bit so it kind of keeps your lower hips quiet and it keeps your sternum kind of firing through and kind of seeing that. All right, Jim, hit a couple. Really nice one.
That was actually really good. That was one of my better ones today. And even just last year I really struggled with leg work and how I was almost getting to an impact position of probably like a stock 7 or 8 iron where my handle's too far forward. The legs are straightening. I freeze framed it and I'm getting impact alignments that you would like to see on a full swing. So
yeah,
these setup changes greatly help me getting into these positions to where I'm not using the lower body so much.
Yeah, and the last thing we kind of worked on, Jim, go to the top of your kind of bunker swing and stop. And this, we even worked on this with some other students, but pretty much as a rule of thumb, if I had asked Jim to take his right hand off and try and touch his club head, if he's able to do that, that means he has too much wrist cock. So there you can't touch it, but from there, if he has too much, he can touch it. That's too much of an error. So that's going to create too much of him trying to sit there and kind of here and uncock that left wrist. Is going to start creating too much of a sharper angle into that ball and just too much timing. So pretty much in a simple sense, if you can sit there as a rule of thumb, get to the top of your swing, and if you're not able to touch that club head, you have a pretty good idea in terms of width a little bit. But if you can touch it too much, eliminating too much of that, let's say wrist hinge, and kind of get rid of it just a little bit. Just a little shallower approach is going to help. Hey, one more, Jim.
All right, let's see what I got here. Just listen to the stock one here. Nothing crazy.
So get set up there, good sternum. Good job. All right, guys. So again, this is simple little kind of setup tips here in terms of that stuff Jim set up to it again. 2 quick little tips. Get your chest buttons to kind of face more and kind of front of that golf ball in the direction this way, and just make sure you don't have too much width. As a checking point, go to the top, and if you can take your right hand off and not touch your club head, that's usually a pretty good key point in terms of width. Thanks and have a good day.